This podcast is brought to you by the Heldridge Hotel, New Brunswick's only 4-star hotel and a preferred hotel of Rutgers football fans. The Heldridge helps you make the most of your game day weekend, providing premium accommodations in the cultural heart of downtown New Brunswick. Restaurants, bars, theaters, parks, museums, and more are only steps away. Whether you're traveling alone or with a large group, book your stay at the Heldridge and make the most of your game day weekend. Visit theheldridge.com today.
With Venmo Stash, a taco in one hand and ordering a ride in the other means you're stacking cash back. Nice. Get up to 5% cash back with Venmo Stash on your favorite brands when you pay with your Venmo debit card. From takeout to rideshares, entertainment and more, pick a bundle with your go-tos and start earning cash back at those brands. Earn more cash when you do more with Stash. Venmo Stash terms and exclusions apply. Max $100 cash back per month. See terms at venmo.me/stash terms.
NJ.com and the Heldridge Hotel. Welcome to the Rutgers Rant, your one-stop podcast for the Scarlet Knights. With your host, Steve Politi, and Rutgers insider Brian Fonseca. Let's start shopping.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Rant. Got a nice little show for you today, our Ohio State preview. We're going to break down that game in every way possible, talk about the basketball team, a spirited win over a spunky American team that was much too close for anyone's comfort at the rack last night. At least that was my observation from not being at the rack. We'll break down where the basketball team stands at 4-0. We should start football, though, because this is a big game, Brian. And as I do before big games, I went online. I went to see what people were writing about in the visiting city. Went to some Columbus, Ohio outlets. And this is a line from one of the stories that I found. And I'm going to read it to you. I want to get your impressions of it. That for Ohio State, quote, "This is the most important tune-up game in school history." Wow, huh? I mean, the most important tune-up game. Your thoughts?
Well, in Columbus, they think about the game against Michigan 364 days a year. So I think that's totally fair. What they don't realize in Columbus is that this is the most important tune-up game in Rutgers football history.
Yes!
Because of the big Penn State game next week. We don't care about the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Exactly,
it's
yeah.
all on the Nittany Lions.
You tell the Buckeyes, yeah, you think it's an important tune-up game for you? You have no idea how important of a tune-up game this is. Got to get in there. We got to get our shit right. We got to lose 58-0, and we got to make sure no one dies. That's it. We got to get ready for the big game. That's it. We got it. That's it. That's the most important tune-up game in Rutgers history. Screw you and your national championships and your game. The game. None of that matters. This is the game. Right here in Piscataway, New Jersey. And how many days now? 10 days? Man, I'm starting hot here. I'm starting hot.
And you are. I mean, it's hard not to get fired up when you think about Rutgers, Penn State, 5-6, Piscataway, 3:30 p.m. on purpose. Because if they put it at noon, everyone would watch that game instead of the game. You know,
of
Fox
course,
it's cash cow to intersect with the real big game of the day. So
absolutely.
Now, in all seriousness, I think everyone kind of, I don't know about inside the programs, I think everyone around this game understands that this is going to be a foregone conclusion the way this game is going to go, right? Like Ohio State is better than practically everyone in college football. Rutgers is not having a particularly great year. It's about getting in, fulfilling the obligation because it's on the schedule, staying healthy, and being prepared for Penn State.
That's a great pep talk. All right, boys, we gotta get on that plane, fulfill this obligation. It's good. Can you imagine that? It's like a movie scene there. All right,
boys. Sometimes I'm gonna go with not an allegory, but a comparison here. Sometimes I have to visit my in-laws. I don't want to, but sometimes the things in life we have to do.
Yes.
To fulfill obligations. This is kind of like visiting the in-laws. It'll be painful, but you should leave out of there healthy, and you can live to fight another day.
Painful. It's going to last about 3 hours. We're going to do whatever we can to distract ourselves from the pain. Then we're going to get back on the plane and go home. There you go. That's a great pep talk. I love it. That's a good idea. Yeah.
There we go. And I try to, we're the positivity podcast around here now. So I try to look at this in a positive way. I asked Greg, do you think there's an advantage to playing Ohio State the week before the game? The classic not landmine. What I'm terrible this morning with
Trap.
with
Trap game.
trap game, the classic trap game. And he said, I wish I could tell you that's true. I don't think it is. And I looked it up. They have won their last 8 games before the game.
Really?
They beat number 5 Indiana by 25 last year. They beat number 7 Michigan State by 49 3 years ago. And they beat number 9 Penn State by about 27 7 years ago. So even the really good teams get trounced against Ohio State the week before the game. So it's probably a disadvantage. Or maybe Ohio State's just really that freaking good.
Maybe it's only a trap because it's the most important tune-up game. That could be different. And that's a trap because if you view it as the Craig Shannon should put that. Imagine putting that on a bulletin board. The most important tune-up game. School history. Right here in Piscataway, New Jersey. All right. You alluded to it, but it really is. And we're joking about it because, I mean, they are a wagon. They're a freaking wagon. I don't know how else you put it. I mean, it's just, I'm wondering if this is the best Ohio State team of all time. And I think they've got, certainly, if they finish what they've started, they will be that. Like, I don't think there's really much of a debate. Go back to Urban Meyer's great teams. Go back to, last year's team. I mean, you can compare it any way you want. What they've done so far has been extraordinary. Especially in this era of college football where, you've got the playoff, where you've got, parity at the top, certainly. A team like Indiana can buy itself a great program. It's stuff like that makes it even more impressive to me. Player movement, the money involved, like all of this stuff. And look what they're doing. It's amazing.
So I'm not going to get that crazy because Ohio State is, of all the programs in college football, if there's one that you can't confidently say the greatest of all time among all of them, it's Ohio State because they've just been so good for so long. What I will say is, since I've been following college football closely, if you look at just the playoff era, Ohio State won 2 national championships. Both times, the first time they snuck into the 14 playoff, right? They probably shouldn't have been in, and they still won the Natty. And then last year, they lose to Michigan, and then they win the whole thing. And they lost to Oregon as well. They lost 2 games before the playoff last year and won. This year, they're 10-0. They have not had a single competitive game, albeit they haven't really played anyone great outside of Texas, but they've dominated everyone they've played. They have the best defense in college football, one of the best defenses in a long time, just absolutely incredibly talented. So I think there's an argument this is the best Ohio State team of the playoff era, certainly the NIL era. And obviously that is contingent on them beating Michigan and making a run in the playoff. Because if you don't do that, all these first 10 games of looking great and puffing your chest don't matter. But they have elite talent defensively. They have elite talent at quarterback. They have the 2 best wide receivers in the Big Ten. I mean, Jeremiah Smith is the best wide receiver prospect in years, and he was that as a freshman, right? So I don't know if they'll play, though. That's the interesting thing. Those 2 guys are a little banged up. Are they going to play in the most important tune-up game of all time, or are they all tuned up and going to be put in, plastic wrap before Michigan? That's the most interesting thing I'd say about going to this game.
That is interesting. We do know that Julian Sain is going to play. I love that name. He's completing 80% of his passes. Ken, these stats are nuts across 10 games. Like, I don't care who you're playing. Like, balls are dropped. There people defense. It's just nuts. That those numbers are incredible, and he's still not the Heisman Trophy favorite at this point. Kid in Indiana is, but still, I mean, he 80% completion, 9.5 average, 25 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Only been sacked 6 times. It's just really hard to. They got a running back, Bo Jackson. They cloned Bo Jackson and brought him in. He's 110 carries, 725 yards. That's a 6.6 average. James Peoples, you probably see a lot of him just because of tune-up game status. The best backup running back in the Big Ten. Let me ask you this. Is there any, what is the possibilities here for this Rutgers defense against this? Are we looking at any possible strategy, anything you saw, and not last week, the week before, that gives you a little hope here?
No.
It's the Positivity Podcast, Brian. Come on.
Even being the Positivity Podcast, no, because Ohio State's just so good. Their backup quarterback is throwing 90% of his passes. They are a machine in that they're perfect for the NIL era because they have so much support. They make so much money as an athletic department. They have so much prestige. Like, this is what Ohio State should be operating at max capacity. And they're just so talented that, I mean, I think for Ohio State, it would be disappointing if they didn't run all over Rutgers, get all these big plays. Maryland had 3 play runs of 30+ yards. You think Ohio State should have probably 9 or 10? It's just, they're just so much more talented. And, Greg says he's seeing improvement in the defense. I think there is been improvement in the defense. I think some of that is the fact they've played 2 bad offenses in Purdue and Maryland, and Ohio State is not that. I just think that much like, the result is a foregone conclusion. I think Ohio State having huge plays and scoring a bunch of touchdowns is kind of a foregone conclusion, much like minimizing the damage health-wise. The big thing here is just minimize the damage. Don't give up a million big plays. Greg Schiano made a good point that Ohio State plays more methodically now. They huddle, they go slow. They're not like up tempo. And that by design doesn't really result in blowouts, which is why I don't think this will be a blowout.
Right.
But that all goes out the window if on the second play of every drive, you're giving up a 75-yard carry and that's a touchdown. So that to me is the big key. Don't give up those huge plays.
That's it. That's been the key in every one of these games. And we have really not seen Rutgers be able to do that. I mean, certainly they overcame it when they did it against Maryland, gave up the big play, and then the second play of the game managed to win that game. Yeah. So this is it. I think for Rutgers to have any chance to keep this close, you've got to be in a position where you're not allowing that, where you're holding them in check, where it's a 7-yard, 10-yard, 15-yard, where it's a 10-play scoring drive and not a 2-play scoring drive. And then, then you got to somehow dominate the line of, you got to, on the other side, Antoine Raymond's got to have another one of these games. You got to be able to keep the ball. You got to be able to hold the ball. You got to be able to move it. No mistakes whatsoever. It's just so many things you have to do to go right. It's hard to foresee the scenario. Like I said, it's, but they're not going to be the first team to deal with this year.
Ohio State has given up the biggest points they've given up this season was 16 to Illinois. They've given up double digits 4 times in 10 games, right? They're just, to your point, they're a wagon. Kyle Monungai did have a good game against them in 23. That was a little bit of a different team. What I will say, though, strategically, if you are able to hold on to the ball for these long 10-play drives, kill a ton of clock, and you're able to keep Ohio State from scoring a touchdown in a minute every time they have the ball and have them play these long drives, that way there's just less possessions, there's less variance, and there's more of a chance, or I should say more variance, there's more of a chance that you can keep it close. I just don't think it's worth us entertaining them winning the game, but you can keep it close if you just have less possessions, less chances for Ohio State to score, and kind of shorten the game a bit.
Yeah, and then I would want to see, like we saw what happened when Indiana faced a situation like this, when they were in a game down to the wire, and you learn something about that team. Like they're not just talented, but they've got some guts. We have not learned anything. Ohio State's not been in a 2-touchdown game, much less the 1-touchdown game. So like there's no way of really, the first game of the season, 14-7. Since then, though, they've not been in a competitive game. So we have no way of knowing how this team is going to respond to adversity. I mean, that's one thing. I mean, if you're holding out hope, you're like, all right, well, if it's close, let's see what happens when if it's close. If they aren't ready for a situation like that, we don't know. Again, I'm trying positivity podcast. The other angle to this one that I like, and I forgot all about it until I was looking back at the last trip out there to Columbus. That was the Paulie Walnut game, right? That was when there was a little bit of fun, a little bit of tension. Greg Schiano ended up somehow on the other sideline doing the Paulie Walnut at Day, right? Give him one of those. One of my favorite moments in Greg Schiano 2.0 sort of spoke to that. Rutgers was not going to just take these disrespects, and there was going to be someone standing up for it. And I think that was a great message he sent there. I don't know what the relationship between Schiano and Day is. I have no idea. They worked together at one point. That's an interesting little subplot. What sense do you get from Schiano about that?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a big factor. I know, there's this idea that Day will want to run up the score or whatever. I don't think there's any outstanding bad blood there, from what I could tell. I think that moment was kind of just the heat of the moment, protecting the players. Kind of, I don't think this game is as emotionally charged, and I think a big part of that again is that there's just such a discrepancy between two teams. It's hard to really get fired up in either direction because it's not. It's not. Now, if this game was a 35-27 game with 8 minutes left, and maybe then emotions get charged, but I just, outside of that, I don't really see it.
Right.
I don't think there's an issue there, and I don't think that'll really matter anyway.
Yeah. All right. We're going to come back at the end, as we always do, and make the picks. We don't have a guest picker this week. We had Steve Peichel on the podcast last week, and he counts as our guest this week. He would have picked the Scarlet Knights to win. That's what we're going to assume. That's a good transition to basketball. Let's talk about Steve Peichel. Let's talk about his appearance. We haven't like had a minute for you and I talk about having Steve Peichel on the podcast. Someone who, with a lot of time on their hands, according to the Discord, went in and counted the number of time he said guys. Did you see this in the Discord?
I did.
Yeah. Where would you have put, before seeing this, where would you have put the over under on the number of times he said guys?
I already saw the number of what it is, so yeah. I'm a little biased here, but a high number, in the mid double digits.
You would have. So you've been like 52 guys, 84. If you didn't have time to count, Steve Peichel goes on a show for 40 minutes and said the word guys 84 times. I love it. It's good. Branded us the Positivity Podcast. It was a fun interview. I mean, look, you forget that he's a likable guy. He's got personality. He gave us some shit. It was good.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. And clearly the fans liked it too. The comments have been largely positive. Yeah. The view numbers, it's up there for our most listened to interview. Not that we do a lot of interviews, but it was up there with our most listened to episode. And I agree. I think it's a good format for Steve, because oftentimes in the past couple of years, the only time we've talked to him and he's talked publicly has been after a game. Yeah. And even if it's a win or a loss, there's still that ongoing tension. He's a guy that gets really tense at games, and afterward takes him a while to unwind. Right. In this low pressure situation, they're undefeated. We're joking around. We're joking around with him. He's showing us the pulley fathead and having some fun with that. So I think it's a great environment for him to kind of, remind people that he is a likable guy, and there's a reason that people really liked him, a few years ago, along with having a good basketball team, that he's a good guy and he could kind of joke around.
Yeah. I think some people wanted us to be like 60 minutes. I'm not Mike Wallace here. It's just that the podcast, we had some fun.
Right. And also the thing is, the interviews are a two-way process, right? Like you could be Mike Wallace all you want, but if someone doesn't want to answer the question, right, it's only going to make us and the fan base that wants it feel better, but you're not going to get an answer, which is the whole point of this thing. Yeah.
The funny part is my one fastball question. We're talking about analytics and the eye test, and he gets fired up about that. And I was like, I said something to the effect of like, "Hey, look, I've used my eye test here on your centers. They're not good enough." And named Manny Ogbole in that sentence. The next game, he's Will Chamberlain, man. He's freaking combination of Shaq and David Robinson against I don't remember who they played. Maine? Somebody? Lehigh. Somebody bad. But still, he's been good the last couple games. Like he is, he looked like a functioning center, blocking shots against did they play last night? Ryder?
American. Number 4.
I'll get them all in the right order eventually. Blocking shots, getting rebounds, and from what I've heard, pretty good at screen defense, right?
Elite pick and rolls, elite screen coverage. Mm-hmm. So we should bounce off this and kind of, I think it'd be a fun exercise to go through every player and say, are they better or worse than we thought in the preseason? Yes. And kind of the team overall. We'll start with Manny. Here's the thing. The Emmanuel Ogbole game, that was his best performance, bar none. Hit all 7 shots, 15 points, finished with 10 rebounds, literally carried Rutgers over the finish line against Lehigh. Dylan Grant had given them the cushion, but Rutgers needed Emmanuel Ogbole to do what he did to win that game. It was a 12-point win that felt a lot smaller than that. Now, he does all those great things. He follows it up with some really good things against American. 4 points on 2 shots, 4 rebounds, 3 blocks. That's the kind of rim protection he has not shown. Then the big blaring alarm that's ringing that you were worried about entering the season. He has 4 fouls in 13 minutes against American. And he plays 16 minutes all night. That is the major concern going into Big Ten play when you're playing against guys your size. And, if you catch one of these, Steve Peichel has telegraphed this before the season. If for Emmanuel Ogbole to show his progress that he's had, he's going to have to stay on the floor. And you can't stay on the floor if you foul every 3 minutes.
Yeah. And pretty much. And from what I've seen defensively, by fall played 9 minutes in that game. I guess it was a little bit better than he'd shown the previous 3, but he's not going to be able to play in the Big Ten. Like he will. And we were joking about this because I texted you. I was like, he's going to play 0 minutes in the Big Ten. And you're like, well, no, the other guy's in foul trouble. Someone's got to play center, yeah. So you're right. Okay. So he's going to play some. You're right. Bryce Dortch can't play 37 minutes in the Big Ten either. But yeah, that's just the depth at that position. Yeah, it's a problem. It's absolutely, it still remains a big problem.
Yeah, it's a problem we saw, and I've seen nothing in the first 4 games that make me any more confident in that position. And it's hard because you're playing bad competition, but what you want to see out of Emmanuel Bolle is what you saw against Lehigh in the second half for all 4 games. He should dominate them. He's a Big Ten center, and these teams have no size, right? Even American, they play 5 out. Like, they don't really have a true center. You should be getting boards like crazy and a lot of points. So to wrap up a Bolle point, I think he's better now than I anticipated him being from what I've seen.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. No question. And he should be against this competition. I remain skeptical against better teams. And let's just do the betters. I mean, I think we can just lump up some guys in the better. I think Dylan Grant is, we both picked him as to be this team's best player, leading scorer. I think he is better than I thought he was going to be. And that's saying a lot. I thought he was going to be pretty good. He was 7 for 12, and 7 of 9 from the free throw line, 22 points, 11 rebounds. He's really been active on the boards, on the glass, getting to the basket. Like, he looks like he is a Big Ten leading scorer, that type of player. Like, I think he is stepping into the role he had to step into. Big shoes to fill when you're taking over for not one, but 2 guys who are in the NBA, essentially, the burden to be the scorer on this team. Do you agree that he is better than you thought?
I think his highs have been better than I thought. I think when he takes over, like he did a few, against Lehigh, when he did against American yesterday, I think that is what I wanted to see from Dylan Grant. Again, the caveat is always that Rutgers is playing the second worst non-conference schedule in the country. So he should look like this against these teams. Right. I am going to withhold any true evaluation until I see him against a good team. But I agree. The one thing I'll have on him, he's only taken 3 threes and he's 2 of 3. That's the issue I have with this entire team. They're shooting 36.5% on threes, which is 90th in the country, but they're only taking 32.5% of their shots from 3, which is 313th. Wow. They don't shoot enough threes. They don't create enough threes, which is a whole other issue we can talk about later. But that's my one thing with Dylan, is that I'd like to see him expand his game, shoot outside the perimeter. He's done decently so far. But that's going to help take his game to the next level, because he's not going to be able to bully his way to the rim and run in transition against Big Ten teams the way he is now against Lehigh and American. Unless he is, in which case then he really is taking the next step.
Right. Tariq Francis is on my list of players better than I will say much better than I expected. And this is nothing I wasn't watching a lot of NJIT last year. This is just what I heard from people. This is what just analysis when he committed. I heard a lot of people saying that's not a Big Ten player. A lot of concern about that. Had 19, 6 of 13. He's not jacking up bad shots a lot that I've seen. 5 for 5 from the line. Look at it like that. 5 rebounds for a kid his size. I got to like that. 24 minutes, steady player. Did he turn the ball over? Maybe 1 turnover, but still, he's handling the ball pretty well. Better than I thought. Still, I'm not convinced when you get bigger guards in the Big Ten or in Vegas that he's gonna be successful.
Agree. He's better than I thought because my expectations were quite low. And again, he's playing competition that he played. This is the level he was playing at in NJIT. He did chuck up a couple of bad shots yesterday, but after calming down, he attacked the rim because he had a speed advantage, got to the rim, got to the free throw line. Yeah. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that against the Big Ten. But he's been better than I thought. Again, let's pump the brakes on anointing our preseason predictions wrong just yet, but yeah, certainly I think there's reason to be feel better about him than you did before the year.
Right. How about JaMychal Davis?
Yeah, I think he's been better than I thought. I think he's, outside of yesterday where he had 3 turnovers, that's uncharacteristic, pretty good at distributing the ball. Hasn't really forced many threes. He's 4 of 10, so he's shooting 40% on threes. Yeah. He's the thing is, and I don't know if this is a product of JaMychal or a product of the offense, the way it's coached, is that a lot of his shots seem to be get a pick at the top of the key, dribble into the mid-range, and then just take a mid-range jumper. And that's just not That's just not ideal. Is that something that he does? Is that something he's coached to do? I think it's the latter because Derek Simpson was doing the same thing. Joe Baker's been doing the same thing. Dylan Harper was doing the same thing sometimes.
Yeah.
Um,
We love the mid-range jumper here.
Yes, way too much. But again, it's hard for him to get to the rim. In the first half against American, he's dribbling to the lane. He sees a big man waiting for him, and he just stops. He doesn't go up. He doesn't, because he knows it's hard for him to score uncontested, let alone contested. So, but as far as a leader, as far as a captain, he's been named a captain. As far as distributing the ball and kind of keeping everyone, even keeled, and as a defender, outside of some rough reps against Lehigh, that's kind of stick in my head. But aside from that, I would say he's been better than I thought.
He's the team's second best player. True or false?
Great question. So Dylan is the best player, obviously. Dylan Grant.
Yes.
If he is, it's not by much, right? Like the fact that we could have a debate and probably include 2 or 3 guys, but not because these 2 or 3 guys are like so good that we can't pick one. It's because I'm just not sure who it is.
Who's the 2 or 3 guys? I don't see him or Francis. I don't have like a.
Battleau has not been great, but the flash he showed in the first half against Maine and the efficient play he had yesterday, I think yesterday is probably the truest form of what you could expect from him this season.
10 points, 4 of 8, 2 for 3 in 25 minutes. Okay. Yeah.
Hit a clutch 3.
Yep.
Big block in transition. Attacked the rim when he saw a mismatch.
Mm-hmm.
Just smart play, efficient play. So I think that is where he's at his best. And I think that he's the second best player. But
really? Okay. Interesting. I'm going with Jermichael. I really do. And because I think, and this is more, I think he's going to be a very good to excellent defensive player. I'm not going to nitpick the Lehigh game like you do. I think his defense will translate in the Big Ten. His ball handling is, important. Like that's going to matter. That's good. This is how this team's going to win these games, is the ability to play good defense. The defense overall has been okay. I don't think it's been great. Like there've been moments where you're like, ooh, you're giving up a lot of open looks here still. But to me, he's like he's like a solid offensive player who could be very good defensive player. So that's where I'm going with him for number 2. And I'm not sure how Battleau is going to defend anybody yet at this point. So
I don't know how anybody on this team is going to defend anybody, because your starting backcourt is at best 2 6-foot guys. At best. I mean, they're listed as 6'2" and 6'1". They're at best 6 foot. The center position is a calamity. I mean, I'm running out of words to describe it, right? It's not good. And you don't have any lockdown wing defenders. Like Chris Newell could be that. He was a bit out of control yesterday. I think he's still working through which is natural, but he's working through the freshman progression, trying to not do too much every play. I just think the size is going to be something you cannot overcome in the Big Ten when you're facing 6'4" guards. That's my major concern.
Right. All right. Let's just do the bench in one big lump here. I will say, overall, I thought that I'm a little disappointed, maybe not the right word, but I thought the bench, some of these guys would be better. I think Darren Buchanan would be on my list. Like I really thought he was going to be a starter, 30-minute kind of guy. Just not seeing a lot so far. And I don't mean this is early. He had 10 points, 2 of 6 shooting. He was okay in the second half, 6 of 9 free throws. Again, got to the line, converted his chances. That's good. Not much of a passer, as you pointed out on X or in Discord last night. And so far I just haven't, for the first guy they went out and got in the portal, haven't been overly impressed. Is that fair?
Yeah, I've not been impressed by him. I see why he's the 6th man. He brings energy and he has some physicality that other guys don't have, but it was like I was watching Lathan Somerville with a worse offensive skill set last night, because anytime the ball went in his hands, he was driving to the rim every single time. He had 6 shots, and I think he had 4 passes all night. And I just don't think that's a formula for success, because it wasn't very successful against American. I just don't think you're going to be able to do that in the Big Ten. So I think he has something in him that he could be, if optimized, a good guy off the bench, physical, can defend, can get to the rim, but he's been disappointing. I would say off the bench, the only guy that I feel better about now than I did before is Bryce Dortch. I think he could be a 10 to 15 minute guy off the bench at center. He looks like he belongs.
Okay.
He's not a guy that elevates your game, but he has not made a mistake. He'll get rebounds. He'll do the dirty work. He won't take bad shots. I've been pleasantly surprised from Bryce Dort so far.
Yeah. And I'm not giving up on Newell. I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to be better than what we've seen. He's got to remember these guys are freshmen. I haven't seen enough of Mark to know. Zerno kind of the same. Yeah, it's just like a lot of questions there about what those guys are going to be against bigger, better opponents. When you would assume that Steve Peichel at that point is not going to be playing 11 guys in a lot of these games. Be interesting to see what they come up with. But
the thing is with the bench, that these last 3 games have been tight, right? Like Rutgers has not had, outside of Ryder, had a 30-point lead where you can empty the bench and get these guys some looks. Steve Peichel has had to run with the guys who he thinks gives them a best chance to win, right? So he's tightened his rotation to, essentially 8-9 guys, right? Like Fall played a cameo, Zerno played a cameo, Mark played a cameo, but the guys that played the minutes were essentially the starting 5, Darren Buchanan, Bryce Dortch, and I can't remember who the 8th guy would be, but that's the thing. I think that while they have a lot of bodies on this team, I'm just not sure how many of these guys Steve Peichel trusts.
Right.
And this is so far in low major competition. Like what's going to happen when you get to the Big Ten? Yeah. This is going to be a 7-8 man rotation at best.
I think you said 6 Big Ten wins. I said 5 Big Ten wins. Higher, lower, exactly the same.
Lower.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Here's the thing. This is not a good sign. Rutgers has won its first 4 games and has dropped 9 spots on Ken Pom.
Oh, Ken Pom. When he gets into the portal, it's one of the great lines from the Peichel podcast. We laughed out loud. It's very funny. Yes. Some guy named Ken Pom would be there's got to be someone out there. Yeah, just, Kenny Pom. Anyway.
Yes, Ken Pom is a trigger word for Peichel. But my point being, like, the analytics say on a per possession basis, they're playing worse than was projected preseason. That matches my eye test. I thought I might have even been too generous preseason. They could change my mind if they beat Notre Dame in Vegas but
and for me, it has really little to do with what I've seen here. Although I will still say I'm still at the same level. I'm not going below it, not going above it. I'm just kind of looking at the other teams in the Big Ten. A lot of these teams that you thought would be, I don't know how they're going to be. Some of them look pretty good. If you look at Ken Pom right now, they are 18th. That's obviously only 18 teams. So I don't know. It's tough. I made one other note that I know you're going to want to talk about. 82nd straight sellout. How you feeling about that? You seemed a little skeptical. The word I would use would be skeptical about that.
So I can only see one side of the court, right? Because I'm not going to walk around the entire arena to look at the people behind me. But across the way from the press box, in the 300 section, I counted it on both corners.
Yeah.
The top 12 rows, roughly 500 to 700 seats, were completely empty. Empty. If you look at the 100s, every other seat was empty. I understand the distinction between a sellout, which is announced attendance, and actual presence in the game. Rutgers is getting very creative with the ways they are selling these tickets, but no amount of traffic, no amount of tip time, no amount of a bad opponent is enough to justify calling that a sellout. It's an insult to our intelligence, frankly.
I don't know. I just don't understand the why. I wish someone would explain to me, other than like giving Steve Peichel something to say when he's rolling off the things they've accomplished. Like, do the players care? I don't care about how much money they're getting paid. Like the fans care. Like, oh, source of pride. You're gonna hang a banner up. 82 sell. I just don't understand. Like in this day and age. Like maybe back in the day when it was Nebraska streak and they were like local supermarkets were buying up the tickets to keep it going since it had been going since the 60s. And like, we got to keep the streak alive. Like, all right, I get it to some level, but I don't know. Nobody cares.
I think fans would care and have it as a source of pride if it was legitimate. I think at this point, everyone realizes that it's a sellout on paper, nothing else.
Yeah.
Anyway. Before we move on to basketball, someone asked this question to us in the Discord, and I thought it was a fun exercise. Who would win a game? last year's team or this year's team, basketball?
Yeah, I'm going to go with last year's team. Absolutely. They would run him out of the building. How's that sound? That's what I think. Absolutely. Who's going to guard? Who on this year's team is going to guard those two kids?
Rutgers last year by 21.
Yeah, totally. 100%.
Glad we're in agreement.
We agree. We agree on that. All right. So you want to do questions? You want to do what else first? What do you got? Let's do some questions. Why not?
Yep.
We got a bunch of random ones. Since you guys are obviously close to Pike, was one question started. I love it. Let me give him a call. Pike, got a question here on the Discord. We're buddies. You guys are obviously close to Pike. Can you suggest that the team bring in Dr. Chris Carr, a leading free throw sports psychologist, for a session or two? They've talked about, the times they've talked about this, and we haven't really reported it, but I've heard, back channel discussions about having someone come in and do this. They never really did. I don't know. Free throws they're not on my list of problems. They're 80% against 24-30. It's pretty good. They would sign for that in blood. The right guys have to take the free throws. And clearly in this game they did, because Dylan Grant, Tariq Francis, JaMychal Davis made, I'm looking at the math, 15 of 17. That's what you want. Darren Buchanan, throw him in there too.
They're 68.9% on free throws on the season. That's not good. They have not been good at free throws for years. There are two solutions to this. One, recruit better shooters. That's it. You're not going to teach a guy that shoots 60% on free throws in high school to shoot 80%. Recruit better shooters, which comes with recruiting better players, better talent, etc. Or just start shooting granny style. Those are the only two solutions. They're obviously not going to shoot granny style.
Here, you're saying?
Say again?
That? Rick Barry action? You want to do underhanded? I like it. Okay.
That's the only way that you're going to turn a guy who shoots 60% for his career into I don't know why Manny doesn't do it. I really don't. Like, what is there to lose? It's like scientifically proven to be a better free throw shooting motion. But no, there's no fix here. This psychologist isn't going to come into a practice and suddenly unlock something through hypnosis to make them better free throw shooters. They just got to be better shooters. And this team, that's another concern for this team that we didn't dive into, does not have a single guy outside of Badalo, maybe Zerno, who I trust to make an open three.
Yeah. Zerno's not, he's not going to be on the court to do it at this point. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a problem. That's a bigger problem. That's a bigger problem to me than free throws. Absolutely. Especially when you're going to be down in games a lot. You're going to have to make a lot of shots. That's the formula for upsets has been since the 3-point line coming into place. So yeah, you're absolutely right. All right. What's more Jersey? This is a fun question. What's more Jersey, Rutgers or the Devils? Who are you taking? I
think the Devils automatically, because they have Jersey in their name, right?
Do.
No one is calling Rutgers the State University of New Jersey anymore.
Yes.
Rutgers does have the boardwalk. Devils don't.
They do. Rutgers has been around like 2 centuries longer than the Devils. Does that matter?
The Devils in less time have won more championships than Rutgers in every sport combined.
That's true. Good point. I will say this. The one thing about the Devils that I love, they really do play up the Jersey thing on social media. They've taken that as their identity, and they didn't always do it. But they now own it in a real way. It's kind of funny. I do think back. I don't know if you remember the old Devils ESPN commercial where Ken Danico and Bon Jovi singing, and I love that. That was a while ago, obviously, but since then, even in the last 10 years, they've been really proactive about it. Rutgers is trying though. They're going for it. They're digging in. They're digging in on that little Jersey attitude too. You see some of that out there and what they're putting out there. They got the Sopranos on the scoreboard. The horse. He's what's more Jersey than Excalibur?
The Jersey framed trophy for their biggest rivalry. It's literally an outline of the state of New Jersey.
Hat tip to Kevin Lorenz coming up with that. Absolutely. Yep.
I think the Jersey is in the eye of the beholder. I think either answer is acceptable.
Either answer is correct. Absolutely. Where to be. It depends what your favorite team is. That's a good way of putting it. All right. Private equity. So people want to know a lot about what's going on with this. I think it looks like, if you've not been following the whole story with the private equity deal that's going on, the Big Ten trying to get money through the California Educational Pension Fund, I believe is what it is, to distribute it, to sell a 10% share of it. It's a complicated story. But the long story short is that 2 of the 18 Big Ten teams, Southern Cal and Michigan, don't want it. And it looks like that they're going to need all 18 to get it through, which is $110 million that Rutgers is not going to get, which it could use. So the question was, what would you do with the money if they got the $110 million? Would you retire old debt, build new buildings, improve the RAC, add a football practice facility, a lac stadium, or invest it in a fund and use it to pay players over future years? Brian, what would you do with 110 mil?
Well, first, I want to say thank goodness for the smart people in the room to stand up and kibosh this thing. Michigan, once again, being the class of the league, and I'm not just saying this because Rutgers is playing Ohio State this week, that someone with common sense realizes that this would be a horrible deal in the long term and did not want to get in bed with private equity. And it took the best public school in the Big Ten, education-wise, and
it's true.
Michigan is the hardest school to get into in the Big Ten, I think.
UCLA?
Public school, I mean,
No?
maybe. Well, UCLA didn't fight against this deal, and they're in mountains of debt, and they're moving out of the Rose Bowl, which is one of the dumbest things of all time. So I would say
the money like Rutgers.
Well, to the point of the money, what would I spend it on? I think the responsible thing is to wipe away the debt, but no one pays debt anymore. Debt isn't a real thing. Money isn't real. By the time people that are in charge today have to, pay the piper, they'll all be gone, and the earth will be swallowed up by climate change and all that good stuff. So I wouldn't pay the debt. I would.
God, you're grim. I'm sorry.
I would. The debt isn't real. No one's gonna. Who's gonna come collect the money? Like, is the like? Come on. Anyway, I would save a good bank for revenue share. Obviously, I would find a way to funnel the money to NIL somehow. Right, there are ways to do this. Other schools have figured it out. And I guess the point being, I would spend, if it's 110 million, I'd spend 90 million of it building, 80 million of it building rosters, like saving money for players, and then 30 million of it, as a rainy day fund for coaching salaries, and if you have to fire somebody, paying out buyouts and stuff like that. I wouldn't touch any renovations. I wouldn't even consider a lac stadium. Whoever asked that is nuts. I mean, lacrosse has to be like, if there's a list of 100 things to do, it has to be in the 90th range, right? Like, who cares? That's what I would do. What would you do?
I think there are certainly some improvements to these facilities that need to happen, and not just because the buildings are getting old and things are starting to fall apart and just look shabby. I think there's got to be some improvements that generate money, and this like low hanging fruit that Rutgers has never taken. The fact that there are really no luxury seating at the RAC. There's nothing beyond the whatever it's called now, club at football stadium. I think they've got to look at that. I don't think you need to build the Death Star, as we used to call it, for Greg Schiano, but there are some facility issues that haven't gotten fixed. I mean, they're still playing in the bubble. There's still stuff like that you're looking at, that I wonder if there's not a way to solve that. I mean, the thing is that, like, and this is why Rutgers is where it is. Like $100 million, they could spend it pretty quickly. Like maybe some schools, maybe Michigan doesn't need it right away, but Rutgers could need it. And this led to it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. Really quickly, the way I look at it is using this money instead of a short-term deal, like a long-term investment, in that if you get better players, you get a better team, you get better results, and you get more people interested and more people donating, so you could build your long-term cash flow that way. Because if you if you build these luxury clubs, take last night, for example, at the same exact time, Rutgers was playing American at the RAC. Kentucky and Michigan State and Kansas and Duke were playing at MSG. If you are a business trying to take out a potential client, where would you take them? You just pick one of the two.
Oh yeah, I mean, of course. But it's not just the building; it's the location. Of course, there's
That's my point. But it's Rutgers is not even in the same stratosphere, right? At least if you were to have a top 15 Rutgers team in either sport, that would incentivize more people with a lot of money to want to be part of the whole thing. If you just build these things and the teams still suck, that's kind of going to be money go to waste, because it's not going to generate revenue, if that makes sense.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I understand. I understand completely. All right. This led to a tweet that made the rounds from Michigan. A Michigan writer listed all the proposed Big Ten equity deal, did the breakdown. It was like 110 million each for Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State, 155 for USC and Oregon, and 110 to everyone else. One source from one of the everyone else schools says, "Wait, so we're the same as Rutgers?" Yeah, you're the same as Rutgers. Shut up and take your money. Been in the league now for 10 years in a better market than whatever one of you it is. Illinois, Michigan State. It's great. Look at 11. Like if Rutgers, if the Big Ten was weeding out 4 schools, they're not getting rid of Rutgers.
We could go back and forth on that. What I will say is that this beautiful tweet is just like Big Ten schools realizing, like what regular working class people should realize, is that they are closer to Rutgers than they are to Ohio State.
That's right. That's true. Yes.
You're closer to
we thought we were right there. No, you're not Ohio State. You're Rutgers. Take your $110 million, Michigan State. Think you're Michigan. Yes. You're not.
You are closer
the most for them. Whew.
You're closer to your mailman than you are to Elon Musk. All right, buddy. Take your 110 million and realize that maybe there should be some solidarity among everyone else, and they have some collective bargaining power to get more money. Let's not go down this path. Now,
settle down, Mom Donnie.
Now, if Rutgers, if the Big Ten was lowering its membership, because obviously we agree these conferences are way too big. They've gotten way too big. I think your argument would be for Rutgers to stay that they have the New York market, correct?
Correct.
Does that still matter?
I don't know. I hope so. That's all we got left. Come on. Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think the Big Ten
more. I will now. Brands matter more than markets now. Totally. Yes. Yes.
I don't think the Big Ten will be reducing anytime soon. I think Rutgers will be safe in whatever the grant of rights deal will be for a long time. I'm not saying
the main reason why Rutgers wants this is for that extra 10 years. Like the $110 million, we'll take it. Thank you. But it is the 10 years on that stability in the Big Ten is why. And the rest of those schools should do the same thing. Like if it's a Michigan State source saying this or whoever it is, they should want this for that reason alone too. I mean, you think some of these other schools, they would be surprised if suddenly the top 20 break off and you're not one of them. Well, yeah, guess what?
Yeah, I'm just saying, whenever, if ever the Big Ten starts cutting the fat, I don't think Rutgers is entirely as safe as you might think, just because of the New York market or whatever. It's not. Comcast cable boxes aren't all over Manhattan as they used to be, 10 years ago.
One other thing from the world of college sports, James Franklin to Virginia Tech. Got to ask you if you like that move for him, for them, and who now goes to Penn State.
That's the interesting question. Penn State is kind of running out of. The girls are quickly leaving the bar, and they're about to run into the last girl at the dance. It's not encouraging. They could pull a shocker, right? They could have a trick up their sleeve. Some sitting head coach is kind of quietly trying to find a new spot. That's always possible. I don't mean Lane Kiffin, but there could be someone out there that no one's thinking about, and they get him. On James Franklin, I think it's great for him. DMV is an area he dominated in recruiting. This is a program that's dying for success. They're going to support him financially. They really care about football at Virginia Tech. Very Nebraska-esque with Matt Rule. So I think they'll have a chance. I do wonder how it feels to be Virginia Tech, knowing that you were Franklin's second hope or second option, because he was dying for Florida State to fire Mike Norvell so he could take that job, but they didn't. So he ended up falling back on Virginia Tech. Do you mind being the sloppy seconds? I guess you don't if you get James Franklin.
No, you don't. And because I think that's what James Franklin is thinking. Like they're looking at the path to the playoff through the ACC. Or what's left of it is, you're going to get up to the level where you're competing for the ACC title pretty quick. Pitt's in the conversation now, right? Like you're going to get there pretty quickly. And so I think it's a couple of years, he'll be back in the playoff. I think that's what he's thinking. And that could have happened at Florida State. It could happen at Virginia Tech, probably easier at Florida State, but either one of those. So, you got tradition, you've got the resources are the biggest thing. And this is the quote that I want to pull out here from the story on Lane Kiffin by Ross Dellinger of Yahoo. And if you don't understand what's going on in the world of college sports, you should read the story because it's just fascinating. But he's just said from his office last week, Kiffin acknowledges the factors for coaches in deciding to take jobs in college football have shifted from glitzy facilities, championship winning tradition, and recruiting footprint to one thing: how much above the cap third-party NIL can a school generate for the roster? And that's it. That's like the whole thing. And that's what, when you see the RNIL thing, that's what Kelly's in is doing. Just like that's, just keep that in mind. Trying to get that number up to something where you're in the ballpark and you're able to compete. It's just kind of like a fascinating shift in where the industry is now. I thought that was a great quote.
Ultimately, what matters is getting players. Back in the day when you couldn't pay players, you could put money into getting better facilities, bowling alleys and all that nonsense they had in facilities to attract players. Now you could just pay them. So the important thing is to have the money to pay them. I think that's nothing has changed about the coach's priorities. It's just a matter of achieving that goal. James Franklin, I read he had a promise of $30 million. Now I don't know if that's $30 million ref share plus NIL, just NIL. But that's got a number that a coach that knows what it takes to win feels like he needs to bring Virginia Tech back. We're talking a lot of money. That's one program.
That's one program. Right. And yeah, it's just amazing. It really is. All right. Picks. Should we just pick? Let's do it. All right. What's the line? 33 and a half. Is that correct?
Let's go with, I think I have in our post 31 and a half. Let's go with 32 and a half. Let's meet in the middle. 32 and a half.
32 and a half. Okay. So there's a lot going on here. I know nobody cares about this, but there's only two of us who can win. One of them is no longer on the podcast, Pat Lanny. He's got a 1-game lead on me. And since you have the 1-game lead, I get to ask, who you picking? And Pat is laying the 32 and a half points, as I think, most reasonable people will. So I'm in a bit of a bind here. I don't know if I'm going to snatch the 32 in hopes I can catch him, or if I'm going to wait, to play for the tie at the end here in the last game, depending on what he does. It's tough. It's tricky. It really is.
It's crunch time, baby. Every decision matters.
For the tie. I don't want to tie him. What's the use? I want to go down to the last game where I got a chance to win. You play win. It's not a T-shirt. President Tate doesn't want me to tie. There's no T-shirt that says tie on it by President Tate. All right, so I've made my decision, but you pick first.
Well, what's better, a tie or a loss?
A tie, but I mean, no, still the same thing. A tie is a loss. I won last year, right?
Soccer.
Who won last year?
A tie can be a beautiful thing. A tie can be a wonderful thing.
Did you win last year? Who won last year? No one remembers this.
I don't remember, which is why it's beautiful that we're putting so much pressure on yourself to win a contest that you won't remember you won 10 months from now. I will go. There's a couple reasons why I think Rutgers could cover. I just think that this game could be a slow, low possession game. Mm-hmm. Ohio State could take its foot off the gas way earlier to kind of rest itself for the game. Ultimately, though, Ohio State is so much better, and Rutgers defense is so bad that I think they win, pretty comfortably. I think they take like a 42-0 lead, and then Rutgers scores a couple points at the end, and Ohio State wins 45-10. That's what I'll go with.
45-10. So you're taking the cover. Okay. Yeah. That's probably the logical way to go here. The one thing I will say, I don't feel like this is going to be an Oregon situation. I really don't, where you're down 42-3 at halftime, and it's just like, oh my God, I can't, what's going to happen in the second half, and everyone's uncomfortable. Could be wrong. Just don't think Ohio State are good defensively. I don't think it's going to be that. I think Rutgers is better than they were in that game. I think it's just, you get one of those a year. It's not going to be this one again. I'm talking myself into this, damn it. I'm going to take the 32 and a half, reluctantly, but it's going to get me back in the game. And it's all about the tune-up. It's all about next week getting there, getting to the biggest game in school history. So I'm going to take 45-14. Does that math add up to going to be a late touch backdoor cover for Rutgers? Antoine Raymond breaks one off in the fourth quarter. 45-14. Ohio State win. The tune-up is a success. We're back here with the biggest podcast in program history. There you go. How you like that?
Got me fired up. And that gives me something to look forward to in the fourth quarter when I'm kind of rounding out my story. I'm like, all right, is Politi going to cover or not? that'll make it some fun.
Yes. There you go. Fun. All right. Anything else you want to say? Final thoughts before you head to Columbus? Where are you staying?
I'm staying at the airport, renting a car, doing the drive, doing it simple. And then I'm flying to Columbus Friday. I'm flying to Las Vegas Sunday. I'm flying home red eye Wednesday night. A lot of traveling for me this week, but I'll be home for Thanksgiving.
Nice.
As I said on our live show, the Players Era tournament, they have a game Monday, Tuesday, and then depending on how the results go, Wednesday or Thursday. If you want me to cover the game, hope that it's Wednesday, because if it's on Thursday, there's a very good chance I don't even watch the game. So
you're getting the hell out of Dodge. I can't blame you. When do we record our next show then? Sunday?
So interesting question. We'll do our live show after the Ohio State game.
Yeah.
I have time in the morning. We can record Sunday morning. Okay. We can record Monday after the basketball game. We could just never record again. I mean, it's
okay. All right.
We'll figure it out. I will say though, probably no guest picker next week, just to kind of set people's expectation.
Yeah, we don't need one. The biggest game of all time. I might come up with one. I'm going to look around, see what I can come up with. All right. On that note, hey, you have a safe travel. We're rooting for you. And we'll be back here eventually to talk about the tune-up game before the big game. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Rutgers Rant, sponsored by the Heldridge Hotel. Head to NJ.com/Rutgers for more Scarlet Knight content.